The Council of Mages has been aware of the increased necromancer activity in Cyrodiil for some time. It had been our position to sit back and watch what unfolded, but that time has clearly passed. We cannot tolerate these attacks on the Guild.
After going back to the magnificence of the game we call Oblivion, I decided to brush up on my knowledge surrounding Cyrodiilic culture in the Third Era, and what better to summarize the actions of a specific guild that assuredly shaped the arcane aspects of the Empire, the Mages Guild. The Mages Guild was a staple of arcane presence in the Second and Third Era. It was kickstarted by the famed apprentice of the Psijic Order Vanus Galerion, who created this institutionalized wave of establishments of the arcane to strengthen the union of mages on the Somerset Isles, yet it soon crossed the threshold of national importance and expanded all across Tamriel. Guild halls were being rapidly built, and entire communities of mages were specializing their skills in the company and presence of other societies. Nearly all of the provinces of Tamriel had especially assigned archmages who would deal with internal political affairs, but they rarely ever dealt in external affairs, because of the fact that it would have involved them in matters they deemed liable.
Greetings. It is high time that we met face to face, don't you think? Untitled Traven, Arch-Mage of the Mages Guild. Welcome to the Arcane University.
Untitled Traven, or Arch-Mage Traven, was one of the remaining Archmages of the Cyrodiilic Chapter, and his devotion towards the preservation of the guild shines, which we'll cover shortly. Traven was massively against the morally ambiguous art of necromancy. Well, it strays far from ambiguous, but I'd rather stay unbiased for the time being. Now, if we're going to be completely transparent, necromancy in the Mages Guild was largely ignored and sometimes even tolerated by its former archmages. So to claim that the guild didn't condone it would be ludicrous, because some of those aforementioned archmages were most likely avid necromancers themselves. Traven likely grew up in the shadow of members that subtly practiced necromancy, and he possibly witnessed how lenient former archmages were in regards to its usage. But Traven seemed educated enough to not take a tyrannical stance against it. Yes, he was indeed responsible for its harsh sanctioning, but that didn't happen before he gave the matter at hand a thorough examination. Traven closely analyzed both argumentative points in regards to the benefits and detriments of necromancy as a whole. This display of intellectual thought manifests itself in the famous book Traven wrote called The Black Arts on Trial, which unbiasedly covers a debate between two of the most intelligent magisters in the Empire. The two participants of this debate were Voth Carlis of Corinth elsewhere and Eulicita Gracog of Orsinium. Voth debated against necromancy, whilst Eulicita acted as its apologist. Traven supervised this debate and later found out that Eulicita's apologetic stance was indeed a way for her to justify her position as a necromancer, a title which she hid from everyone, Traven included. Eulicita had some solid points as to how restrictive it would be to refrain students from learning about the black arts, but Traven found it disingenuous after covering Eulicita's actual profession as a necromancer. I highly advise the viewers of this video to read the book Traven published. It showcases imperative points to one's moral perception of necromancy. Traven then proceeded to publish the book and sanction students from practicing the black arts. This sudden change shook the cores of nearly every guild hall in Cyrodiil, and many council members deserted their posts and officially proclaimed themselves as necromancers, or went on to leave the guild in an act of defiance. Unfortunately, this sudden shift of allegiance came just in time for Mannimarco's new physical appearance on Tamriel. Mannimarco, as you know, has a wide spreadsheet of appearances as a secondary or even primary antagonist of questlines strewn across various Elder Scrolls games. He is the one and only King of Worms, the founder of the Order of the Black Worm. He is the embodiment of necromancy on Tamriel. Mannimarco, in his ethereal or even lich form, achieved feats of great malice. He had the inhabitants of Tamriel mourning on more than one occasion. He frequently associated himself with forces capable enough of crippling the balance of life. He was always defeated, yet one can never truly erase Mannimarco, for his legacy finds anyone susceptible enough to seek the horrors of necromancy. The partial dissolution of the Mages Guild that occurred when Traven took charge prompted the rapid growth of both Mannimarco's new physical form and the Cyrodiilic Order of the Black Worm, which undoubtedly caught Arch-Mage Traven by surprise. At first, the remaining council that initially stuck by Traven seemed unaffected, but as time proceeded, his council either succumbed to the will of Mannimarco's spirit or died as a result of resisting his efforts to expand. Traven finally felt the world weighing in on him, and he knew that Mannimarco's new uprisal would prematurely obliterate the Mages Guild and everything Galirion's legacy stood for. At this point, Traven swore the hero of Kawach for his unconditional trust, and the hero turned out to be a resourceful apprentice. But their friendship had assured Traven that there would be a candidate eligible to lead the Mages Guild of Cyrodiil if his absence were to become a thing. The hero then proceeded to retrieve artifacts which would benefit Mannimarco's quest, successfully hindering and eliminating many crucial traitors and plans of his. But despite all of this, Traven knew that Mannimarco's growth would precede all of their efforts to subdue him, so he devised a plan to sacrifice himself into an especially crafted black soul gem, the Colossal Black Soul Gem. This, as the name implies, was a black soul gem of colossal capabilities, and it was designed to capture the souls of more influential figures. It was supposed to be in possession of Mannimarco himself, but Traven infused it with his own soul, sacrificing his physical form in the process. By inhabiting the Colossal Black Soul Gem, Traven believed he could give the hero of Kawach the crucial chance to repel Mannimarco's spells of enthralling, allowing the hero to easily resist Mannimarco's will and defeat him in fair combat. As we all know, Traven's hopes were fulfilled, and the effects of the Soul Gem helped the hero of Kawach single-handedly disband and defeat the Order of the Black Worm, assuring a period of relative peace for the society of proper mages.
Not only has necromancy been banned from practice in the Mages Guild, but the guild won't deal with anyone who openly uses it. Arch-Mage Traven is the first to take such a hard stance on necromancy. It upset more than a few people.
Things in the guild have been different since Traven was named Arch-Mage. They're more structured, but everyone seems tense.
Putting aside the fate that struck him, Traven brought forth a period of respectable and structural integrity within the Arcane University. He brought a sense of ethicality back to the Mages Guild, and despite witnessing its gradual deterioration, he continued fighting for a better version of himself and even the guild. His reformations gave the general populace a reason to revere the Mages Guild, and all of the arcane arts that actually contributed to the facilitation of magic in Cyrodiil. Many theories have popped up online claiming that Traven's playing his own selfish game of conspiracies, and I do encourage you to read through a post I will link below, but I'm basing my passages in this script off of his actions in the game and his actions in the game alone. One thing I will admit though, is that his sudden banning of necromancy did warrant unnecessary shifts in council, and maybe this was even intentional, but I also won't shy away from the fact of how lucrative and cunning necromancers are. Necromancy cannot be left to linger, nor even fester. Although the guild was prosperous then, when necromancy was left to linger amongst members of the guild, guildmates practicing it would either creep into a state of insanity or let themselves break the law, two issues which were prevalent in the degradation of the guild's former reputation. Many of those aforementioned necromancers occupied higher roles within the guild, so entrusting these people with the guild would have proved consequential either way. The only real difference in the events that conspired after Traven's sanctions were the fight that Traven presented. If necromancy wasn't banned, then Mannimarco would have had a stellar time infiltrating the guild and university alike. I don't think Traven should be treasured as an individual brave enough to resist the temptation of power, but he should at least be commended for protecting his own interests, which inadvertently served the prosperity of his guild. I'm inclined to open a conversation about Traven's actual intentions going into the Colossal Black Soul Gem. Was it out of sacrifice or self-serving intent? We'll never truly know. But what he did ensure is that the guild wouldn't be left to its own mercy.
Lead your fellow mages and lead them well. The future rests on your shoulders. Farewell, my friend.